Hello. So let's read from Bhagavad Gita today. This one is Bhagavad Gita as is, translated by Swami Prabhupada. And we're on chapter 17, the divisions of faith, text 16. The translation is: serenity, simplicity, gravity, self-control, and purity of thought are the austerities of the mind. So just to put it in context, right now Krishna is explaining to Arjuna and to all of us different austerities: austerity of the body, of speech, and of the mind. So austerity of the mind, again, is described by serenity, simplicity, gravity, self-control, and purity of thought. So this is a nice verse for when our mind is just racing here and there, or disturbed about something, or if we're angry, or not that there's anything wrong with getting angry, you have to feel your emotions, but when our mind is just kind of taking us places where we don't want to go, and it's just weaving out of control and spiraling, this is a nice verse to remind us how to kind of take control of the mind. Don't let the mind control us. In another verse in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna refers to the mind can be our friend or our enemy, us being the soul. So we are consciousness, we are soul, we are spirit, and the mind can help us out or can take us away from who we really are, our spiritual self. So I'll just read parts of the purport here and add on. To make the mind austere is to detach it from sense gratification. So if we're always thinking about how can I just please myself, where can I find the next food that tastes good, where can I find the next thing that feels good, me, like, actually, ironically, that will not lead us to happiness. That will usually lead to frustration, because the more you get, the more you want. Even if you get what you want, it won't last forever, and then when it's taken away, you feel frustration. So again, it's just a spiral. So instead, the mind should be trained so that it can always be thinking of doing good for others. So if you're having a day where you're just, again, your mind is like spiraling out of control, or you're feeling sad or upset about something, after you deal with whatever you're feeling sad about, you can start to think about, what can I do today that can help somebody else out? And oftentimes by doing that, your problem will go away, or you'll just stop thinking about it, because your mind is focused on helping others. The more we think about something, the more we just start acting on those thoughts. So if we're thinking about doing good for others, we'll act on that rather than acting on negative thoughts. The best training for the mind is gravity in thought. So gravity is kind of like a seriousness. Doesn't mean we should always be like serious and never happy or joyful, but just kind of a realistic seriousness about the world, about who we are. Remind ourselves our position in this world. It's, if you believe we're a soul, as Krishna teaches in the Bhagavad Gita, an eternal soul, we're stuck in this world that's temporary. We're going to have to experience death at some point, death of our loved ones. Not that we want to meditate on this all day, we'll get depressed, but just be realistic, and so we can continue to focus on our journey of self-realization. Okay, so satisfaction of the mind can be obtained only by taking the mind away from thoughts of sense enjoyment. So again, here's that concept that just thinking about what can I do to make me happy all the time, ironically, that won't make us happy. We can be satisfied when we pull our mind away from those thoughts. The more we think of sense enjoyment, the more the mind becomes dissatisfied. In the present age, we unnecessarily engage the mind in so many different ways for sense gratification, so there's no possibility of the mind's becoming satisfied, right? There's so many things to do. There's so much entertainment. There's so much new technology. There's so many shows to see, and this and that and this and that, and like there's no end. So how can we be satisfied? So, yeah, don't just think about that all day long. Let's turn our minds. How can we help others? How can we do good for the earth, for other people? How can we focus on our spiritual practices? Then we get some peace. The best course is to divert the mind to the Vedic literature or to any scriptures, spiritual texts, full of satisfying stories. One could take advantage of this knowledge and thus become purified. The mind should be devoid of duplicity, and one should think of the welfare of all. So not just, let me think of doing good for my people, only for my family, my nation, my community. Let's think of the welfare of all, including animals, including plants, including the earth. Silence means that one is always thinking of self-realization. So it doesn't mean you just never talk and take a vow of silence. That's not so practical. But, internally, to remember what your spiritual goal is, that, we're here on earth for a short time. We can get this and that, so many material things, but at death, it's all going to be taken away. We can't take it with us. So remember to keep on our journey of self-realization and spiritual growth, so that as we're doing our duties and working and having our material needs met, which of course we need, at the same time we're climbing the ladder of self-realization as well. The person in Krishna consciousness or God consciousness observe perfect silence in this sense. Control of the mind means detaching the mind from sense enjoyment, which we talked about. So when the mind starts to think about, ooh, I want that chocolate cake with whipped cream, okay, sometimes that's okay, have some, but why not pull the mind back and think instead of, oh, I saw that person on the street, they must be really hungry, maybe I can give them a piece of chocolate cake, and just do an experiment and see which gives you more satisfaction, eating the cake, giving it to someone who's hungry, maybe both, maybe having half the cake yourself, giving half to someone. Do an experiment, realize it for yourself. One should be straightforward in dealings and purify existence. So let's just be real and honest about where we're coming from with others. All these qualities together constitute austerity in mental activities. So that was kind of an explanation or summary of those qualities. So we have serenity, simplicity, gravity, self-control, and purity of thought. So yeah, we touched upon gravity, self-control, purity of thought, simplicity. Just have what you need. Like, we don't need more and more and more and more. You need a place to sleep. You need some food. You need some water. You need some money. You need some, but you don't need all. You don't need everything. So simplicity, be satisfied with what you need, and then you can have more free time for joy and for doing the things that you love and for spirituality. So that's just a short little discussion of this verse. Again, it's chapter 17, Divisions of Faith, text 16. And I picked this again because I think we all, at some point or another, have this experience of the mind just being a little disturbed in the mind. We're thinking of this and that and things that don't make us happy. And so these are some tricks to gradually get in the habit, because thoughts are habits, of thinking of doing good for others, being satisfied with simplicity, pulling the mind away from I want more for me. And it won't happen overnight, but gradually, if you experience, oh, I'm actually more peaceful when I'm thinking of others, or when I'm simple, or when I'm studying scriptures, I'm more peaceful than when I'm just chasing after satisfying all my urges. When you start to experience that, even if you won't suddenly become like a saint or a monk or whatever, at least you have that experience, so that gradually throughout life you more and more choose those options, and you less and less choose the following of the urges. And it's a path, it's a journey, might not happen right away, but take steps and experience for yourself. And that's why it's called self-realization. You can't just have someone make you do it or say, you must believe. It's a practice, and you practice it, and you experience it, and you learn. So that's my sharing for today. And again, Bhagavad Gita. There's many translations out there. This one is by Swami Prabhupada.